When did you realize that acting, directing is your true life calling?
So one day I was in a very deep meditation and it clicked. And I said,
How is intention important in everyday life?
so that's a big question. Intention is everything.
How can that help them to better their lives?
Oftentimes as humans, we are so caught up in patterns. Joe Dispenza says that most of us are walking into the future holding up a mirror that's facing the past.
I have a great guest for you today in the studio. He is a producer, actor, director, Maxwell.
Coat. Just like yours, Captain.
Texas Navy didn't have much use for him.
Man, that thing would fly.
Fellas ain't scared.
Scared of what?
Going home.
What projects are you working on right now?
I'm working on my feature directorial debut that I've been writing for the last 5 years. I have 2 short films running the festival circuits right now. One which you mentioned is titled Glimpse. That's won Best Fantasy at the Rome Independent Movie Awards.
Can you describe yourself for us in 3 words?
I would say loyalty, leadership, and integrity.
What was your favorite part that you ever played?
One of which is...
Hey everyone, welcome back to Live with Purpose. I am Anna Lawson, your host, and this is the show that is meant to inspire you to become the best possible version of yourself. We want you to tune into your heart, into your soul, and discover your true purpose in life. I believe that most people suffer in their lives because they're not in alignment with their true selves. They tend to please everyone around, but they don't look into their hearts. I've been teaching yoga and meditation for over 10 years, and yoga philosophy teaches us to look inside for all the answers. So we are here to inspire you to ask yourself the most important question: what do I want? What is my purpose? I really think when you live aligned with your true self, with your core beliefs and values, you're so much happier. And when you are happier, the entire world is better. We will inspire you to discover your true purpose in life. Stay with us on this journey. It can be challenging, but it's worth it. I have a great guest for you today in the studio. He is a producer, actor, director, Maxwell. Welcome. So
Thank
great
you
to have you here.
Appreciate it, Anna. Thank you for having me.
I was so very surprised when I saw your interview at the Venice Film Festival this year. And I was impressed. And I was like, I have to have you on my show because you also won an award at the Rome for your short film.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you're here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your journey as an actor here in Hollywood. So introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Maxwell David Marcus, and I was a child actor growing up from the ages of 9 to 13. And after my time as a child actor, I became a professional wrestler. And I was a professional wrestler for 6 years, traveling the independent circuits and training and wrestling all sorts of monsters among men.
How does it feel to win an award at the Rome Film Festival?
It feels very, very good. I've never been one for competition. I think I've mentioned that before in previous interviews, is that I think that this art is more about collaboration than it is competition. But to win an award and to be recognized for art that's required, years of hard work, I think that's a nice feeling. And it's nice to be able to share that with the people who take the time to root for me. I think most importantly, when I win an award, I'm most proud to say that I win it for everyone that's in my corner, whether it's my family, my friends, my tribe. Those are the people that win the award, not me, because those are the people that make me the man that I am.
So tell us a little bit about your poetry. So you write the poetry. So how do you, did you ever publish anything? Can our audience?
I do actually have a few pieces of poetry published in a poetry novel that has a variety of different writers. I don't recall the name of the book at this point, I must say.
It's okay.
So maybe we'll get
We'll
to that
find it.
another
We'll
time.
put it underneath.
But yes, poetry for me has just been something that I tend to do when I'm seeking understanding. And I feel like I've used up all the words in the traditional ways that I speak to myself and cope with the
Mhm.
things that I'm navigating in reality. So sitting down by the candlelight and staring at the fire for a while and just taking that time to decompress from the outside world and then letting the pen flow and kind of speak to me is very helpful. But yeah, it's
Can maybe release something from subconscious? You feel maybe a relief? Do you feel a sense of relief?
I think so. I think there's a sense of catharsis that
Mhm.
comes with uh, creating a piece of poetry because it's expression in a raw form that doesn't require catering to an audience, that doesn't require an explanation, and it lives outside the boundaries of what is required for many things. It allows itself to become whatever it needs to become, and that's very freeing.
That
I,
is true. Well, thank you for sharing that. And what was your favorite part that you ever played?
my favorite role I've ever played, I'd say I don't know if I could give just one role. I've
Whatever comes to mind. Rick, just it's
there's two that come to mind that I'd like to mention, I think. One of which is John Coffey Hayes, Captain Jack Hayes, who
okay, tell us about that.
I recently played John Coffey Hayes in the latest season of Into the Wild Frontier,
Mhm.
which is a historical Western drama series on INSP TV.
Mhm.
And the character of Captain Jack Hayes is one of legend. The man was basically a symbol in Texas and a symbol in the South for having led and organized the Texas Rangers to become what they eventually became, which allowed for a sense of safety in Texas, which was a very dangerous land at the time.
So, can you describe yourself for us in 3 words?
3 words. If I had to describe myself in 3 words, I would say loyalty, leadership, and integrity. I
Amazing.
think that being loyal to my values, my principles, my morals, my ethics, and the people around me, as well as the human race as a whole, I think that all of these things are essential to my being, as well as being able to step up and be a leader when people require it, and be a leader for myself when I require it. Leadership isn't just about who you are for others. It's very much about who you are for yourself
No,
and who you
true.
force yourself to become in each day.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
requires a different type of mindset. And I think that that's something that I strive for. And the last one that I said integrity. And that ties in again to my morals, my principles, and my ethics. I think I want to stand by, who I feel like I'm being called to be in the world and shine a light where there may be darkness.
How wonderful. And I know that we connected actually through Dr. Joe Dispenza because I mentioned the book, The Becoming Supernatural, and
Yes,
then
I
you
love the
asked,
book.
so tell us what's your favorite part about that book?
My favorite part about Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza is, I won't even say the idea, but the reality that we have the ability as humans to alter our epigenetics and change our reality from the inside.
Can you tell audience a little bit quickly, what does that mean?
So
Plasticity and
I'd say there's a typical belief that we're born with certain genes and that those genes don't change throughout our life. And that may be true for some genes, but there is a reality in modern science that humans have the ability through entering different brainwave states to reprogram their autonomic nervous system and signal it to produce new genes, which can change many aspects about yourself on both physical, spiritual, mental, all different levels.
amazing. I love how
Yeah.
you said that. That is basically the essence of it.
I hope that
Do you? Oh
covers
no,
it
that
well.
is. It
It's
is.
pretty
Mhm.
pretty
Mhm.
interesting stuff.
And if you
I
would
believe.
need to explain to somebody in layman's terms, like somebody who never meditated before, they don't know what neuroplasticity is, they don't know what epigenetics and genes and changing. How would you explain them? Really simple. How can that help
I
them to better their lives?
The way that I would explain it is oftentimes as humans, we are so caught up in patterns. Joe Dispenza says that most of us are walking into the future holding up a mirror that's facing the past and it's facing ourselves at the same time.
Like a rear view mirror.
Yes,
Or like a rear
exactly.
view.
And so we choose it to each day to be recreating the reality of the past, or recreating a version of ourselves that we think we see because we've seen it before. And the whole idea of neuroplasticity is putting the mirror down, is stepping forward and looking forward at the unpredictable, unforeseeable, better than you could have ever expected possible future. And that requires breaking the addictions of pessimism. And that requires breaking beliefs of self-worth and value and what we think that we deserve in our lives. And it's not about necessarily what we deserve as much as it's about we're given these gifts. We're given the gift of life, and we're given the gift to be a leader in our own life and choose how we want to live it.
Creator, not a victim.
It ties back into that leadership mentality.
And is there any specific meditation by Dr. Joe Dispenza that you practice? Do you do any meditations?
There's a few, yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off on my fault.
No. Just tell us what meditation you do.
Yes, I love transcendental meditation, and I love his meditation for blessing of the energy centers, where, 7 different energy centers in the body, or chakras, as some people would say as well. And to be able to go in and reprogram each of these energy centers. These are real energy centers, and, in science, beyond spiritual and religious belief, these are measurable in modern science. We measure that there's different magnetic fields and different vibrations that come from different points in our body. And these points are typically associated with different parts of our instincts and different parts of our mentality and spirituality. And so to go
actually relate every chakra, the energy center is related to a different center in the brain.
Yes.
So whenever you focus on a certain chakra, you're actually lighting up the center in the brain that might be dormant or hasn't been activated for many, many years.
Exactly.
Yeah. And actually, when Dr. Joe Dispenza does the meditation, he makes the parts of the brain communicate that they usually don't. So he actually increases the brain capacity.
Yes.
I don't know if you know the fact that most people use only 10% of their brain capacity. 99%.
It feels like that most days.
So when you're doing the meditation, you're actually activating centers in the brain that they're sleeping, they're dormant, they're not active. So that's why his meditations are very powerful.
Yes, very deep meditations. So
and you use the blessings of the energy centers, right?
I like that one. I think there are others that I like. I like the walking with the divine, and walking into your, I forget the names maybe, but some of these are so wonderful for moving energy through your body with breath. And then after you move energy with breath, setting a new intention for how you want to live your life, and priming that with an emotion that is heightened and grounds us in the feeling of doing that intention and doing it well and succeeding in it. Doing that once we're in that heightened state, followed by the breath work, I think that allows us to go in and make changes. And they might be subtle changes, and they might be for a moment, but they're planting seeds, and they start to allow us to see a new reality for ourselves, which is the first step in attracting a new reality.
And how would you say, you mentioned the intention. How is intention important in everyday life, having an intention? Don't know.
So that's a big question. Intention is everything. If we move through the world aimlessly and without intention, it brings a certain level of bliss at times. Maybe that's true, but I think oftentimes if we move without intention, then that will lead to the negative outcomes that we're not anticipating, or just a lack of growth. And I recall there was a wonderful speaker who's passed away now. His name's Greg Plitt. And he spoke.
What is his name?
Greg Plitt. He was a motivational speaker. And he spoke about, I remember, how purpose is life. Progression is life. Moving forward and evolving. And having an intention in doing that is life. The second that we choose to stagnate ourselves and lack the intention, exactly, or the excitement to take on that intention, we're given such an opportunity with our lives to not only enjoy them, but to live it
purposefully,
and live for others, and not just for ourselves.
So true.
That could be the intention right there. I think for me that can be.
I'm so glad you said that, because my intention with this show is to not teach people, but inspire people and let them know that they are always able to influence their own subconscious mind and their own behavior. What is the typical day in your life?
Typical day in my life is a variety of self-care, which means nutrition, exercise, but also meditation and socializing. Connecting with others is important for me.
What is your morning routine?
Morning
Sure.
routine.
Yes.
So in the morning, I like to start my day getting sunlight. I think the first thing I do is go straight for sunlight. I typically try to avoid going straight to my phone, but sometimes I'm blown up with emails and
But you don't check your phone first thing in the morning, right? You first do the
They-
meditation.
I do my best to not. No, I put the phone down, and unless there's something, I have crazy alerts on my phone, and
Do you
I
know,
tend to
why that
spend-
matters when we talk about meditation and
Yeah.
mindfulness? Because when you, first of all, you're in a different, your brain waves.
are in a different
Okay,
state when
so you're not in
awake.
beta. Waking time, this is high beta. There will no sober. So your brain waves move. So your actually subconscious mind is very open in the morning and at night before you go to bed. So your subconscious is most suggestible in the morning. So if you do meditation first thing when you wake up, it's so much more
The
powerful.
best times. You
The
got
Dr.
it.
Joe Dispenza has the evening meditation too that you do before you go to
I
bed.
think when my meditations were most effective was when I did them first thing.
Mhm, yes.
There was a time, I think around 2020, where I was consistently getting up at 4 a.m. just to do a Joe Dispenza meditation for maybe an hour and a half every morning. And I saw unbelievable changes in my life. So
Can you tell
I-
us something that maybe happened?
I would be happy to.
Something?
I would be happy
Yeah.
to. This is truly miraculous. I had serious tooth pain all of a sudden in two of my upper teeth, and so I went to the orthodontist, and she said that I had resorption. There was like a dark space in the X-ray in the center of the teeth, and I said, "What is that?" And she said, "It's just the cells dying." I
Wow.
said, "Well, that's interesting because I'm reading Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, which talks all about how health is determined at the level of the cells. Because of Joe Dispenza's studies, which have healed cancerous tumors and other serious issues, I said to the dentist, would you like to try with me? I will log every day. I'll meditate every day, and we'll see if it makes a difference. And we'll see if, because she recommended that I get 2 root canals, 2 teeth removed. And I said, well, I'm going to go meditate for 2 weeks.
That's a great idea.
And I said, I'll log it every day. I said, do you want to be on the forefront of science with me? And she said, I'm not interested, but if you have pain, please go get surgery right away. And I said, I do have pain, but I'm going to figure something out. And I'll see you in a few weeks. And she was maybe not too happy about that. And I went home and I meditated for a minimum of an hour and a half every day. And I did this for about 2 weeks straight until one day I was in a very deep meditation and it clicked. And I said, I did it. It's healed. And so I went back to the dentist and I got another x-ray. And all of that black space was half white now, completely glowing. And I said, that's pretty good. She said, oh, it's the angle. It's a trick of the light. And I was like, okay. And the dental assistant was looking at me like, that's pretty crazy. She said, are you feeling pain? I said, no, I'm not. She said, that's the most important thing. I said, okay, as long as that's the most important thing. And so I went home and continued. And another 2 weeks later, I came back and it was about 90%, completely white, healed, no pain.
That
back
was
in the
amazing.
vein, yeah.
And you also saved $2,000.
And I saved
Did-
$2,000.
Did you
That's-
write this story to Dr. Joe Dispenza?
I didn't. I should send him a letter because I'm very grateful, and it proved to me the potential for these things, and it's why I'm so honored to be able to share that on a platform like this. So hopefully it can lead someone else to their healing.
Tell us when, just to kind of wrap it up, when did you realize that acting, directing is your true life calling? What is it about acting that makes you feel expressed and fulfilled?
I think if I had a true life calling one day, it might just to be a father. I would love that one day.
Oh, really? Could
yeah,
it be your life purpose?
I think that that's the greatest job anyone. I think that the greatest
interesting.
job that any man has is to be a father. And, kudos and Oscars to all the fathers out there that are that take the time to be fathers. I think that that's a great gift. And one day I would love that opportunity. But to know that acting and directing was my life purpose, I knew that very young. 9 years old, I think, is when it kind of clicked for me. That's when I became a child actor. That's around the time, if I can recall correctly, it's around the time that The Dark Knight came out. And I saw Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. And I know a lot of people probably reference that film and that performance, but that's because he did something that I had never seen before, which was alchemy, which is something we just talked about, changing one's chemistry. I think the greatest actors have that power, and they do that. And I was blown away by that. But that wasn't enough to fuel me to have the career that I have and continue to do what I do. What really fuels that is what movies, films, television provided for me as a child. There were times where I was facing adversity, or I was alone, or I was scared, and films comforted me. They showed me who I wanted to be in the world. They showed me how to navigate the world.
Any specific film? Any specific name?
I love The Shawshank Redemption. It's my favorite film of all time. I love Mr. Nobody. I think it's very unique, and it changed my whole perspective of reality after I saw it. I love Okja by Bong Joon-ho, a wonderful animal rights film. I'm a vegan, and that film really, I think, will affect anyone that watches it to consider their relationship with animals differently.
Right.
Miracle on 34th Street is another wonderful film. The original. The remake is great too. But
The originals are always better.
yeah, usually, but not always. There's always an exception to the rule.
Thank you all for joining us today, and we are honored to be on your journey of discovering your true life purpose. What I wanted to mention today is to be gentle with yourself on this journey. So it takes time. Rewiring your brain and creating new habits and searching for your life purpose and getting in touch with your soul is a journey. Take a moment each day to pause and celebrate your small victories, no matter how small they are. Any progress that you make, every time you stopped and behaved in a different way, it's a victory. Make sure that you acknowledge that, even if you don't have anybody around you to pat you on the back and tell you how great you are, you have to do it yourself. The best way to do that is journaling. So make sure you set some time for yourself throughout the day, at least few minutes, to journal and write down things that you're grateful for. When did you make the breakthrough? When did you act differently? And when did you overcome yourself, or whatever you're noticing on your journey? Make sure that you're writing it down. Journaling is very powerful. It's backed by science. There are many, many benefits. You're even turning on some centers in the brain that you are not doing when you're typing. So make sure that you do your handwriting, that you write it down, how far you've come, and be proud of yourself for being on this journey, for doing the work. That is all that matters. Being on that path is the success already. So we are here for you. We got your back. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.